Hello and welcome to Man on the Match. This week I'm joined by Ryan for his debut on any podcast, isn't it, Ryan?
Yeah, Dom, this is my first time making any sort of appearance on a podcast. Now, thank you for having us. Can't wait to get into this.
Yeah, no, looking forward to it. First FA Cup one as well that we've done. So
Who
yeah,
doesn't love the FA Cup, mate? I'm telling you, what a weekend it's been.
exactly. It has been a great weekend, hasn't it? Probably been one of the best rides we've had in it in a while.
Third round. I tell you what, I think in my recent memory, this has probably been like one of the most important rounds of the FA Cup. I think in terms of obviously with everything that's going on with COVID, I think the amount of stories that came out this weekend and all the good feeling stories and like especially what the clubs are going to go into and focus on, I think it's pretty much saved some of the seasons really. So I think it's been absolutely mega.
It has been really good, especially for them non-league teams. Big draws they had, and that brings us on. Actually, we'll to our first game to talk about. Marine obviously played Tottenham. Scoreline, it weren't the fairy tale we all wanted, were it? But
No, not really. No, but
it was about the occasion, weren't it?
I think you've got to take this from the viewpoint as the entire spectacle. I think even to the lead up into this game, as we were speaking before you went onto the podcast, obviously the amount of fundraising that's been happening from the Spurs fan groups in America, obviously like the outreach from like Jamie Carragher, and like the entire focus has really put a nice, refreshing light. Considering this is only the second time that Marine have even reached the third round of the FA Cup. Like the last time was against Crewe back in 1992. Which is crazy enough as it is. And a lot of people I saw on Twitter the other day leading up to it said it's the biggest mismatch in terms of places,
Yeah.
the difference between. You can confirm on that? Like,
Yeah,
it
it
was like
were,
100 places. Yeah. So, yeah, so what was your thoughts on it in terms of the game?
I loved it. It didn't matter. The result didn't really matter, did it?
No.
I'm a bit gutted they didn't score because hit the bar, didn't they? Right? Like before, when it went 0-0, that were a great effort.
But from Ken Gini, I tell you what, for the first 20 minutes from like watching that, Marine matched Spurs in terms of like winning the 1v1s, winning the second balls. They really like, you could tell like the occasion, like it put a bit of spirit in the players, which I think it normally does happen when it's like those David versus Goliath ties. So I think if Ken Gini, that goal went in, I tell you what, I think all the people in their back gardens would have been getting flares out and celebrating, to be honest.
They would, wouldn't they? Well, they had the wine ready, didn't they?
Oh, see, I heard Marina called.
What's that?
Prosecco FC.
Prosecco FC, yeah, they were loving it, weren't they, on that Prosecco?
Definitely.
It was funny seeing Mourinho actually just sat on a chair, weren't it, at the side?
Yeah, I wonder if that'd be the first ever time he's encountered Bovril up in the northwest.
Probably, yeah. When they asked him if he wanted one, he probably didn't know what it were.
Yeah, so I mean, I thought in terms of the game, I thought Tottenham coming in and like obviously with like the massive difference in terms of quality, I thought they respected Marine a lot. Especially even Neil Young mentioned it in the post game, saying like for the fact that Mourinho bought the likes of Gareth Bale, Dele Alli, Joe Hart. I think for the fact that he had that mixture of young players and the old, I think they respected Mourinho. Thought 5-0. People could call that a drubbing, but as he said before, I think it was the entire event that was the most important thing.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely respects him playing Alderweireld and Rodon as well at centre back. I know he's still only young, but you know what I mean. He's good centre back, and Alderweireld obviously all that experience, and they were up against a big physical striker, weren't they? So for Marine, so I think he expected that. So if he puts two young lads
with Niall, was it Niall Cummins that was up front? He used to
so.
he used to play for Curtis National when I was there. He was tell you what, for a centre forward for non-league, he's probably Marine's probably one of those strikers you go to that goes for goals. So I thought he had a good game. I thought obviously like Ken Gini that was mentioned. I thought the goalkeeper, even though he conceded 5, I thought he'd be able to tell his mates at Sainsbury's. I think he works at Sainsbury's, doesn't he?
I think so, yeah.
So yeah, so he did all right. At the end of the day, it's one of them things. It's kind of like when you are playing against higher opposition, it's the quality does start to match. After like the excitement and like winning your 1v1s. I think as the game went on, it started to show that obviously it's a big massive difference. So a fair play to Marine.
Exactly. Yeah, fair play to everything. Mourinho bought a ticket as well, didn't
Yeah, yeah. Have you? I can't believe, obviously, the entire campaign behind that. I think that's something that I don't. Have you seen anything like that in terms of where electronic tickets have been bought for the game and stuff like that?
he? Not that I can remember. Not to that extent, anyway. Not to like. I don't
No,
like. I
I
can't
believe
remember how
it
much
was.
they made.
I was seeing here that there was over like 2,000, 3,000 pounds made from the tickets or something like that.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
but I also saw, obviously from the fan groups as well. I think it was a good gesture for Marine. They obviously with the Spurs fans not being able to, they also Marine offered to have any Spurs fans send any flags and banners
Yeah.
to fill out the stadium, which I thought was a good gesture. And I also saw, if you're a Spurs season ticket holder as well, during the 21-22 season, they're allowed to go to a game of the choice,
Are they?
which I think, yeah, yeah. So I think the fact that's quite genius from Marine, the fact that they can get a busload of Spurs fans to the games to get the gate receipts up for next season. So I think they played a blinder, to be honest.
They have. It was good all round, weren't it? Both sides did well for that game. Marine and Tottenham. Fans obviously buying the tickets. So a lot of them were Tottenham fans, weren't they? And I believe whoever they're putting them all in a draw who bought a ticket. Whoever wins gets to manage Marine next season for one game.
Really?
Yeah. So if Mourinho wins it, he could manage Marine.
Could you imagine that? Like if it was like in the FA Cup again, and they got to the first round, Mourinho took, like I think the likes of Neil Young would be calling them up just to draft him in to do a masterclass.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I love that. See, that's why I love the FA Cup, Dom. That's why I love the FA Cup. The stories like.
Yeah, that's the magic of it, isn't it? It's like the Gareth Bale as well. Picture on Twitter.
Yeah, and didn't Gareth Bale end up sending a shirt or something like that to the person that took it, or they were having a conversation on Twitter about it or something like that?
Yeah, so I saw him that he like waved back at him, didn't he, on Twitter? But he could have sent the shirt as well. I hadn't heard about that. He might have done, yeah.
So, but speaking of, there seems to be a lot of Spanish influence over in that game. Obviously, with Gareth Bale being ex-Real Madrid, but BBC's John Murray was on the radio for the game and he was covering it, and he said something that actually like blew my mind. So obviously, Marine's kit colours playing gold and black, and it's in association with their Merchant Taylor School. That's obviously based in Cropsey Vale, so like a very illustrious school within the UK. However, though, John Murray went on to mention to say that the rugby team that represents the school gave the inspiration for Barcelona's red and blue colours.
I didn't know that.
No, I was searching it before we went onto the podcast, and I tell you what, that blew my mind. Like how basically you've had the likes of Mourinho, Bale, and you've had that influence. You just, it's crazy like how these small narratives get built into one game of football, really.
Oh yeah, like you said, that's the FA Cup, innit? It's so good for that.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Sort of thing.
So,
and it probably you said, didn't you, that's probably saved Marine, doesn't it, as well? In what's difficult time for non-league at the minute.
Definitely, I definitely think in the environment of non-league at the minute, I think something like that, and I think maybe for the next couple of seasons, I think non-league teams are going to be pushing even more to get into the FA Cup.
Yeah.
Because obviously with the financial benefits it brings, like for instance, excuse me, if obviously Marine somehow managed to get a result against Spurs, they would have received £61,000 for it. Just for progressing for the fourth round. Like even for them losing, they managed to get £20,000.
Yeah.
And you think, considering like with the steps that they're in and like the outgoings and ingoings of a club, that could pay the wage bill for a couple of seasons for players.
Yeah. It's massive to a club like that, any stage, isn't it? Especially at the minute with COVID. It's vital for them clubs, and they haven't been. I don't think they've been helped enough non-league clubs actually by the FA, if I'm being honest. But
I would say, I'd obviously say from someone that is obviously like within non-league at the minute, I do think the FA support has not been the best in terms of like parachute schemes and stuff. But I think that's something that definitely has to be worked on. I think after all this, I think there will be systems in place where there'll be a bit more protection for clubs. Because at the end of the day, like with non-league clubs, it's a bit more personal. It's a bit more, the everyday, person that gets involved with the club. It's mainly volunteers. Marine had only 7 paid members of staff. The rest were volunteers.
Yep,
so I think so definitely a lot of consideration that needs to be done this time.
Yeah, something needs to change to help them out because, like you said, it means a lot to them. I know it means a lot to any club done it, but especially them at non-league.
Yeah, definitely.
So we'll stick with non-league then. Chorley. This went the other way. They got through 2-0 winners.
Yeah.
Bit of a story behind this though, isn't there? That Derby obviously had to field a reserve side.
Yeah.
But it's still a good result for Chorley, isn't it? Through to round 4 of the FA Cup.
Yeah, I was actually speaking to some people at Chorley about it before, and it almost felt like with Wayne Rooney and his entire first squad having to isolate, it almost flipped the table a bit. It was almost Derby were coming into this massive underdogs, I thought, because saw it today that 9 of Derby's starting 11 in that game were making their senior debuts, which I found that absolutely crazy. And considering the average age of that squad was 19, I thought Derby's performance in it, the way they handled themselves, I thought was a great testament to them. Obviously, the way they had to snap at such short notice.
Yeah, they did really well, and as well, always physical that non-league as well. The young lads coming into that, I think it'll do them good actually. The young lads at Derby that tie.
See, that's one of the things that's always really interested me when it came to like coaching in football. Obviously, was listening to the BBC Radio 5 Live, and they were mentioning Ben Foster was on there, and he made a good point saying how these players, they get taught technically, tactically, how to compete at that level at under 23s, but it was a massive challenge, or the step I thought against Chorley was too far on the psychological side.
Yeah.
And obviously we've had conversations about this, so I feel like, you could be the best player in the world and you could be ready for a first team, but if you don't have that mental strength, then it can be cause a challenge. And I think, as a snapshot, I think if you look at that game, that's, a physical version of players that just aren't ready for first team football yet. But they gave it a good go. I must give them credit.
They did. They gave it a great go, and I suppose it raises a question, though, doesn't it? That people are saying, should the FA Cup still be continuing? Through these times, obviously some teams are having to field second teams. We saw Villa, but then you could say, well, Villa, there were a great moment in that game, weren't they, where they scored and it was brilliant. Where we wouldn't have felt as, we probably would have felt that good because it was against Liverpool, but. But the point is that obviously with them being so, it were brilliant, weren't it, to see them score that goal? So you can see both sides, can't you, really, of that argument?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think with the Villa game and the Derby game, it shows that there is in under 23s football, there is technically gifted English players within our system. But I think one of the things that is a bit of maybe that could be going to a bit of review or in a bit more of a development is following the systems like that Chelsea, Manchester United admit, where they do send players out on loan. I feel like with some clubs they don't really do that enough. And again, referring back to what Ben Foster says, I feel like if they got exposed to that first team environment, which they did on Saturday, Villa and Charlie were on those nights and those games, I feel like they would have developed those tools to deal with, basically playing against men, that adage where it's men versus boys. You could clearly see it in both games. And I just think it has to be considered more, really, within English football, just to make, to have those gains, those mentality where, right, I'm technically and tactically good enough, but right, I need to know how to manage the game. I need to know how to deal with the ball being lifted over my head, how to compete 1v1 in the air. Obviously, being an avid Burnley fan, that's like the bread and butter of some teams, where they do try and turn over teams quite quickly and try and be, Muslim. If they can't do it technically, they do it physically. And obviously with someone like Burnley, that model is proven to be quite successful in the modern game.
Yeah. You can see both sides, can't you? You can see that some people say that they're too young to go into that sort of physical battle. Personally, I think only way you're going to learn, isn't it, by playing them first. It's not the same, is it, playing at academy level than it is playing a proper game.
Yeah.
But fair play to
definitely.
Chorley. Fair play to Chorley, though.
Oh, I got to give them credit. I thought they took the game plan very well. Obviously, like even from the first goal and like throughout the game, the way they took the set pieces and trying to get balls into like deep back post areas, pin it on the keeper. I thought that was a good, impressive way to manage against it. I thought if Charlie tried to, try and match them footballing wise, technically, and playing it on the floor, which I've seen Charlie do. They are quite a good footballing team, but they've basically had a game plan to try and pin 1v1s and set pieces. Is it number 9? Is it Cardwell, the centre forward for Troy that played on Saturday?
I think so.
I think every ball in the box that was delivered deep or from a throw or from a corner, he competed and he caused problems.
Yeah,
and I think that's how the first goal came.
Yeah, definitely. They did really well, and we can't move on from that though without talking about the groundsman, weren't it?
Mr. Ben Kay.
Mr. Ben Kay. Do you know? You'll know him. Do you know him?
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, one of my first roles in football was actually performance analysis at Clitheroe.
Yeah.
And it was under Simon Hove, and Ben Kay was actually one of the assistant coaches there at the time. I tell you what,
right.
That man knows how to get grass green and look after it. I tell you what, that man sleeping on the pitch in the middle of January to keep that game going. I think that man deserves a medal, to be honest.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's what a story that is, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you not see all the pictures on his Twitter and stuff like that? And tucked up in a blanket on the floor with a bovril and stuff like that.
Yeah. I've seen a few pictures. Fair play to him. That is brilliant, isn't it? That is absolutely brilliant.
And considering, if you've ever been to Chorley, it's one of those grounds where it's really up in the digs. And if it snows, it really snows. So the fact that he's managed to get the game on is an absolute testament to his skills. So fair play to him. If Ben's watching, then well done, mate.
Yeah.
Absolute class.
Fair play to you, Ben, because that is that's some going that to get that game on, like you say, but to actually sleep out overnight to make sure he's class. It really is.
Is it true that he's been offered to be a groundsman for the FA Cup final this year? I heard a few rumours.
I've seen something about that. I think he has, yeah. I think he has at Wembley, hasn't he?
Oh, I tell you what, that's absolutely class. That no, who do you think is going to be in the FA Cup finals? Or do you think it's too early to tell?
I feel obliged to say Chorley now. We've been bigging him up. FA Cup final. Oh dear. I think
too early by asking.
Yeah, whoever wins United Liverpool will be in it.
Oh, I think that's a very good reason.
Yeah, and Burnley, obviously. Yeah.
No, Burnley all the way. Like if United get knocked out by Liverpool, I'll be Burnley all the way to the final. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed we can do well in the cup for once. So on to a Premier League side now. We're going opposite end of the spectrum, but they were playing League Two team Crawley against Leeds. Bielsa, outclassed by Yems, weren't he? The Crawley manager.
I tell you what I think, and I'm going to go along with everybody else's reaction. Is I still think this is probably one of the biggest shocks, or the biggest shock of the third round, really, considering, obviously Derby versus Charlie, obviously with the circumstances there, it was more into Charlie's favour. But I think the way Crawley played against Leeds, I have to say, was absolutely superb.
They were brilliant. Yeah.
They were a joy to watch. Really were. The way, and the thing is, they were a side that I thought would have gave Leeds a good go, but I didn't expect them to beat them 3-0 like the way they did.
they fully deserved it. I mean, that first goal alone deserved to win any game, didn't it?
Oh yeah,
The run,
absolutely.
yeah. I can't remember his name now for the life of me, but I know that he had a really bad car accident, didn't he, a few years back? Because he had an interview after the game,
Yeah,
quite emotional about it all, and that were a brilliant goal. That good for him, good for him coming back from that. And yeah,
I tell you what, like yeah, in the post match interviews, he just said like how long it's been much of a struggle, and there's a lot of times where you thought he wasn't ever going to play football again, and for the fact that he managed to score that goal, like absolutely sensational, really. Like I think that just shows, obviously, like to any young player that setbacks are going to happen. I think even I think it was the third goal scorer. Was it Jordan? Is it Jordan Tunnicliffe?
I think so. Yeah, with Tunnicliffe, there's quite a few Tunnicliffes about, isn't there? But yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, I think it's Jordan Tunnicliffe. Yeah, and even he was saying in the post-match interviews like how this entire game, the entire squad had a point to prove, and even the gaffer was saying at half time, it's like even though when you're leading they were drawing at half time, they're even saying like the way you're playing against a Premier League side, you deserve to go and win this, and like apparently that was the team talk done. Like those players had enough motivation to go and seal it off.
They did. They were fantastic, weren't they? They've just got his name now. That Cerula is called, isn't he? Who scored first goal. Good for him. Buzzing that he got that with everything he's gone through. Like you say, it's to people who have setbacks. That shows that you can come back from it, doesn't it? In anything.
Definitely. I thought, tactically, I think Crawley got it right. I thought after speaking to a friend of the podcast, Mr. Edward Walker, he agreed as well. Like Crawley set themselves where they didn't leave much gaps behind for Leeds to use. They didn't let them commit the full-backs much. They had like good people and such as Jack Powell. I thought he had a really good game. For against Leeds, but I think the main one was obviously Tom Nichols, who works in front of the two. And after speaking to Ed, he was the one that really like made Crawley click in terms of like drifting into midfield, into those pockets of space. At Leeds, even with I think there can be only so many adjectives you can describe how Bielsa plays his football, but inevitably, if you're going to play expansive, you are going to leave space. I think Crawley really exposed that to a T.
Yeah, that Nichols was he was definition of like an unselfish striker. He was coming in, doing putting all the hard yards in, coming and being in that gap between midfield and attack. He was brilliant. Agree with Ed on that. I spotted that. I thought he was brilliant.
What do you think of the keeper?
Well. Yeah,
Mr. Glenn Morris.
Yeah.
So as Ed Walker once quoted, he's like a fine wine.
Yeah.
Considering he's at the tender age of 37. But no, I think Crawley, didn't get enough credit coming into this game. They are currently set in a playoff spot in League Two.
They are, yeah.
And they've got a good record at home, and they do play some, really good football, especially with the front two. And I think with Glenn Morris, for someone, I think last season, I saw it the other day, he was on record the best keeper in League Two. So I think Crawley really gave Leeds a good go.
Yeah. So that Glenn Morris, don't hang your gloves up anytime soon. That's what we can say to you.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
No, definitely. So here's one for you though, Dom. Bielsa's never won a game in the FA Cup. Would you believe that?
I can't believe that. No, I can't. Who did he get knocked out by? I mean, he can't have played many games in it, then, can he? Can't have managed many games.
I think he's had 3 games. I can remember they got knocked out by Sutton United. They got knocked out by Sutton United, didn't they?
I do remember that. Were he manager then?
I think so. Yeah. Let me just have a look now.
Yeah, not sure if he was manager there, but that's still pretty poor, isn't it? 3 on the bench to go out straight away. Maybe you just don't like the FA Cup.
Oh no. Well, this is the thing. Obviously, going into the game, obviously the statisticians will love this. Obviously, Crawley went in to get 8 games unbeaten into the game, and they're really like pushing for the playoffs. Whereas Leeds have done well, including this result. It's 2 back-to-back 3-0 defeats. So a bit loss of form. But when I saw the team sheet, though, I did have a look and I thought Crawley could have a chance here because they had 7 changes from the previous game when they played Spurs, and you had the like of Casilla, who I think when he's played recently, I don't think Leeds fan have liked him so much. He's got a bit of a mistake in him.
A bit of a mistake.
They still had first team player.
He's riddled in mistakes.
Brentford comes to mind. Considering he played for Real Madrid, I don't think he could catch a cold, mate.
Oh, he was shocking. He was absolutely shocking. And the amount of times he's played and done stupid things like that. It's just basics. He always gets them wrong, doesn't he?
Yeah, it was like I think it was for the second goal he got beaten at his near post. I'm like, how can you be beaten from there? Yeah. Honestly. Yeah. So I think that's probably a lesson for Bielsa that, when it comes to this, you do play your strongest 11. I think, but then again, you got to look at the players on the pitch. They still had Cooper, they still had Calvin Phillips, Alioski, Elder Costa, Rodrigo.
Yeah, it's not some big first team players out, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is, you can't give Leeds not any credit at all. They played their part. They played really, really well. I thought Ian Poveda gave a good case for himself in terms of the way he was getting into the box, the way he was delaying his runs. I thought he was a bit unlucky not to get even score. Really, it was a real good save by Glenn Morris, I think, in the 18th minute. So Leeds played their part in that game for sure.
They did, yeah. They put up a good, like I said, a decent team. I know they made 7 changes, but it was still a good team. And I'm with you. What you said at the start, I think that was a win of the round. Crawley there beating them. I think that was a win of the round.
Oh yeah,
so
all the best team. Who?
What's that? Sorry, go on.
I was going to say who've Crawley got now in the 4th round?
Bournemouth. Bournemouth away, yeah.
I think that'd be a great game with considering how good Bournemouth are at home at the minute.
It will. Can they go there and turn them over as well? Be interesting to see.
I hope so. Yeah, let's have another shock in the FA Cup.
Yeah, let's hope Crawley can carry on doing it. Another Premier League side who these just about got through, West Ham away at Stockport. I was really impressed with Stockport. Watched this one. I felt for him really. West Ham got the goal in the end, but they had to bring a few of the big. They brought Souček and Bowen on, so they were panicking a little bit, weren't they, West Ham? But they got that goal in the end.
I think it's same again. Jim Gannon said in his post-match conference, he said, West Ham came in, David Moyes respected the competition and the respected Stockport really. Which I think, with the players that had, such as Yarmolenko, Benrahma, Mikel Antonio's returning back from full fitness, and even had Declan Rice on and Ogbonna. So I thought
Noble as well.
Yeah, exactly. So to me, for the fact that Stockport held in until for the last 10 minutes until the goal went in, I thought they made a real good account for themselves, and I think the way they've been playing, they didn't change it. The way they've been playing all season, they've not changed it at all. In terms of playing out from the back, playing through the thirds. But I must admit, though, if you're going to play out the back and you are going to play this style of keeping the ball and waiting your time to find the gaps and play it through, I thought, West Ham managed that really, really well. And I think, that would come part of being a Premier League side. Again, it's just like I thought, but it was a bit lackluster from both teams, but it really picked up in the second.
Yeah, I think the pitch injured a bit, didn't it? The pitch weren't in the best condition. Not Stockport's fault. Weather's been crap, hasn't it? But so that ended it a bit.
Say that again, sorry.
I'm a bit disappointed with that Benrahma, mate. I thought he lacked a bit of quality on the day.
I thought again, I think he's still in that transition. I think with the amount, I think he's been limited with the first. Well, we're starting really, but I think we all know. We've watched him in the Championship, and I think that is a potential coup right then. I think it's just that transitional period because you come from Brentford, who play a quite expansive style, and you move into someone like David Moyes, which is, still some really good football. I think some of the football West Ham have played this season has really surprised me. Yeah. In terms of definitely, my views on David Moyes, especially with his time at Manchester United and stuff like that. But no, that surprised me. But I think you say Benrahma had a tough game, but then what do you say along the lines of Stockport's defence and when they were out of possession? What did you think about them?
Well, yeah, you make a fair point. They were brilliant out of possession, weren't they? The way they set up when they were defending was unbelievable. I think it was the captain in the middle of the park. Yeah, he just stuck to him like glue in that midfield. He was fantastic. As you said, Declan Rice playing.
With Rooney. Yeah. Was it Captain Rooney, wasn't it? It was Rooney that was the captain.
Yeah, I don't think it were Rooney. I'm on about it though. It must have been captain then. But he played well. Rooney played well too. They all did.
Rooney well. I think
they all did the jobs, didn't they, Stockport, and made it so difficult to break down. I'm saying how bad Benrahma were. You make a point. It were more how disciplined and well organised Stockport were.
Definitely. I thought the way, it was almost to the point where, other than Alex Reid, the centre forward, I think that they had everyone behind the ball. Yeah. You got to say, for the first half, especially, you see it like the Hammers' most chances came from long range efforts. And to me, like when you're playing against a team of that quality and you're only preventing them to have long range efforts, I think you got to call that success.
Yeah, they didn't switch off. That only time they switched off was for the goal, and they got punished, didn't they? They switched off from the corner. They took it quick, in it goes, and you could tell they weren't set up because they were just everywhere. That defensive line were nowhere from the corner. They weren't marking or anything.
I think it was probably down to the point where when teams are up for these kind of occasions, there's only so much of their concentration before they just simply get gassed. Because I thought, the way they were defending was superb, but then it's kind of counter case of the individual's concentration. If you're protecting your box at like 5 minutes at a time, waiting for a cross and stuff like that, it can be quite, mentally draining. So, fair play to West Ham. I thought, in terms of what Stockport County did, I thought they gave a good effort, and especially, obviously, they've just been recently taken over by Mark Stott, haven't they?
Yeah, they have, yeah.
And, a local businessman, and he's looking, to start developing the club, with the inside, start potentially restructuring the club, maybe potentially a new stadium, a new training ground that I've heard. He's really trying to make Stockport County an established football league side. I think from their performance, I think they could definitely go there. I definitely think with this season, if the National League still goes ahead, I think they'll be up there. Especially with the centre forward, they've got Alex Reid, who I think is probably one of the best centre forwards in non-league at the minute.
Oh well, like you said, the potential's there for a minute, and if you've got a backer now as well, why can't they make an established football league club? Just before we move on from that, firework display, weren't they? I think on the 15th minute. That was for a good cause. Where I think, I don't want to get this wrong, but I think 15th.
It was from obviously,
don't want to get it wrong.
So from the interpretation, it was obviously a great display. And how often have you seen firework displays? Pause a football match, and obviously the main one, obviously the picture of Mike Dean and Mark Noble staring into it, which I find quite funny, to be honest. But no, the story goes, obviously a local lad in Stockport, and he unfortunately got hit by a police car when the police car was in pursuit.
That was it.
And he's currently and he's currently in hospital at the minute. And so I think it was just to like raise awareness because I think they're doing a lot of fundraising there. So I think for the display, it must have been an absolute bomb for that firework display because it was something like out of a New Year's Eve display for London at New Year's Eve. So I think it's raised a lot of awareness, and I think the fallout from that, especially from what I've seen on Twitter, has been really, really good.
Yeah, definitely. And hopefully he makes full recovery as well.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
So then on to Blackpool West Brom, last game that we'll look at in depth. West Brom, it's just not happening for Big Sam, is it?
Oh, Tom, you've got reservations about Big Sam Allardyce, don't you, mate?
I'm loving it. I'm loving every minute of it.
Really?
Well, Big Sam's managed Bolton and Blackburn, so he's not getting any sympathy from me.
Well, I tell you what, it's I think this game is quite ironic, really, because this Blackpool was Sam Allardyce's first ever club in management.
Yeah,
really.
I forgot about it. Well, that's another team then. That's another team to add to my list. Blackpool as well.
Are you saying Burnley doesn't like anybody in the Northwest, Dom?
We just don't like. Not everybody in the Northwest just doesn't like each other. So when it comes to football,
everywhere in the North.
We all get on, and then as soon as it comes to playing each other, we hate each other.
Definitely, especially after last night. Yeah. So, no. What was your take on it? What was your take on obviously Blackpool West Brom?
I wasn't surprised actually. That Blackpool not tonight. No, just like I said, what West Brom at the minute are just. They should never have sacked Bilic. I think that's the wrong decision. Players don't seem to have reacted well to Allardyce coming in. But when you look at results in the league, Blackpool aren't a bad side. Let's be honest. They're not. We're not talking like non-league here. They're in League One. They're a good team.
No, they're doing nicely in League One. Mid-table.
So
spots, and I think well, firstly, obviously, the focus on Sam Allardyce, like he said in the post-match interview, and this really, really baffled me. He was complaining that he only had one fit striker in Callum Robinson, and for me, he's not an out-and-out centre forward. He, to me, is someone that plays off. Yeah, he's a winger. He plays as a 10 off the striker. So, and I think in terms of time, and I thought Charlie Austin going to QPR, I thought he could have been very useful in this game, especially the way West Brom had approached the game, obviously with crosses and the amount of crosses they were going for. I thought Charlie Austin, this would have been perfect for Charlie Austin. So, but as he said in the post-match conference, he's pretty much left the squad out to dry with his comments, hasn't he?
He has more or less said that he needs a new team, hasn't he?
Pretty much, but from my and like Chris, I think Chris Sutton said this quite rightly, like if you want a brand new squad now, that's to contend for survival in the Premier League, you're going to need about 150 million.
At least.
Yeah. At least, exactly. And I don't think with everything that's gone behind the scenes at West Brom, with obviously the board sacking Slaven Bilic, I think was totally the wrong decision. Agreeing with what you said, I totally agree. I think Bilic getting sacked and then getting sacked for the fact the results weren't good enough, but it seemed the players were grafting. You saw it every week. They're like, I think, is it the centre back AJ or Ajay?
Yeah, I know you mean that. Yeah, Ajay, I think, yeah.
And he's came on wonders. I think is it Sawyer's in midfield with Conor Gallagher? I think, they've been good. I think they missed Matthias Pereira for the first few bits of the season. So I think sacking Bilic, considering that apparently they were one season ahead of schedule as well from getting out of the Championship, I think it's been a bit of a mismanagement, to be honest.
It was a very strange decision, that, sacking Bilic. And I don't think it was as strange bringing Allardyce in, because he's known for keeping teams in the Premier League. But coming out and saying that, how easy is it going to be to persuade players to come to West Brom with the position they're in? It's not going to be easy, is it, to get players to actually want to go.
Well, this is the thing. They've already managed to get Robert Snodgrass through, which I think will definitely add a lot of quality to him. But I think that is if you got to think with Sam Allardyce is he's been along round enough that you expect him to play a certain way. Very rigid, play by the numbers. More direct. And I think we've now in the Premier League, and there's only a certain amount of players for that talent pool that you could bring in to match what he wants now these days. Obviously you could mention Burnley have got for something like that, but then you realise your retention of the squad. It's very rarely Burnley sell players that fit obviously what Sean Dyche wants to do.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's a big mistake, that his comments after that game. I think sometimes you've got to, even if you are annoyed, it must be annoyed at them players at the minute. Sometimes you've just got to grit your teeth and say, "Oh, these, still back. We're all still together," sort of thing. Still backing, but he's gone for that route, and I think it'll be a mistake.
I think Allardyce is one of the last remaining managers of the old school. In terms of, very direct, this is the way, and he will be direct with players. There's been many times in the past, especially at Everton, when he was at Palace, where, people didn't agree the way he acted, the way he was, but at the end of the day, you do got to give him to him. He does keep teams up. So it's kind of a catch-22. Do you bring him in, keep yourself up, but then you're going to play yourself a system of football that's very rare these days that will, keep the fans happy? Or do you bring someone in like Bilic, as he said, or who was at the club, and you try and play a certain way, and you don't stay up? It's almost like, what do you do? What would you do, Dom?
I'd have kept Bilic. I'd rather go down with Bilic, I think, than have. I don't think it's going to change anything. I don't know, because when they appointed Allardyce, I admit I was quite worried. So I thought,
weird.
Just knowing what Allardyce is like, it's exactly the man who can come in and keep a team up.
Yeah,
but it just hasn't come off, has it, early on? But I don't know.
We'll see. As I said,
I definitely wouldn't have sacked Bilic though. I wouldn't have sacked. I can understand them appointing Allardyce because he is known for keeping, but I wouldn't have sacked Bilic anyway, me personally. No,
I completely agree. I think, especially after getting a point at the Etihad as well. I just felt it was I think it was the worst time, because I think getting a point at a result at that place, considering it's very rare City drop points at the Etihad, I thought that would have been that next wave of momentum for him. Yeah. But again, it seems like when a new manager comes in, like Sam Allardyce, it's another transition period of someone getting used to it, getting the way his coaching staff works, the way he wants football to be played. It's a transition period. So I thought it was almost like the perfect storm for Blackpool today in terms of playing West Brom. And considering the way they play, especially with Yates and Gary Medina up front, I thought they caused loads of problems today.
Yeah, it was perfect time to play West Brom. And I agree with you on Bilic. I think the minds were made up before that City game. They'd already got Allardyce ready, but sometimes do you not think that maybe they should just look at it and think, should we sack him? Or, it's after a big point at the Etihad, that could have changed it all around. And it didn't exactly seem like it were the players forcing him out. It just seemed like an ownership decision, didn't it? Purely an owner one.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, as you said, the players definitely bought into him. There was no murmurs of what the players disagreeing with him. It was just more of a board decision, I thought. But then that's the business of football, though. If the board, feels threatened with relegation and they don't see things working out, then that's when managers can get sacked. Managers can be 6 games away from being sacked, but you then flip over to the other side of the spectrum and someone in the same position as West, well, in a worse position even. You look at how Sheffield United are sticking through Chris Wilder at the minute.
I like that. I'm glad they are. I'm glad they're sticking with Wilder.
definitely. And now look at them, they've won 2 games on the bounce, and they look totally rejuvenated now. They've got
Well,
over that hump.
we've had a relegation with Darch, and we kept him. We didn't sack him, and it's worked out all right for us. So sometimes it's not always the best decision, is it? Change, sometimes you are going to have. You say you have to go back for it, and then you take 2 steps forward, don't you? 1 step back. So yeah, I'm glad. I like it when clubs show a bit of loyalty to the manager. I do.
Definitely. I think the best, obviously with Burnley, Sean Dyche is a really good example, but I think the best one is Hasenhüttl at Southampton. Like,
Yeah.
look how unbelievable they are at the minute. And considering when he first came in and he got, there was, the murmurs of like, he's only been at Salzburg, but the board have totally trusted him in terms of how they play football, how he's totally restructured the academy. They totally trusted him, and now they're looking to threaten a Europa League spot, and probably one of the most entertaining teams to watch in the Premier League.
They are. They've been fantastic, Southampton, aren't they? Danny Ings in particular, who I used to love at Burnley, is really at form.
Oh,
yeah.
Tell you what, I think Danny Ings. Oh, bless you. Was it him and Charlie Austin that was up front?
His best strike partner were Vokes. Him and Sam Vokes hit it off. They were fantastic together. But I think Austin were there when Ings were there, but not 100% sure if they ever. I think they only got to play together like in friendlies, really.
Yeah.
They might have had the odd game, but not any run.
Fair enough. I think obviously before we move on, Phil, I think we have to give a big credit, or the story come out of this is the Blackpool goalkeeper Chris Maxwell. Like how he had COVID over Christmas period, and then he comes back in the squad, and he goes and saves 3 penalties.
Yeah, fair play to him coming back in there. I know quite a few players have, haven't they? I know we had a few. Brownhill last night played 90 minutes. He's had COVID.
Really?
I think quite a few. Well, we know, don't we, with the tests, how many's been testing positive. It seems to be getting more and more, doesn't it? So, yeah, fair play to Maxwell there coming in and playing, because I haven't had it, well, as far as I know, I haven't had it. But I believe even if you get it quite mildly, it can really make you struggle with your breathing, can't it, when you come back?
Yeah. So I think, the achievement of that, and, coming back absolutely fine. It's full credit. I hope, again, I hope all the best for Blackpool. I think, again, as we said before, it was the perfect time to play Sam Allardyce's West Brom. So, fair play to them.
Yeah, they saw the chance and they took it, didn't they?
They've got Brighton now, Seaside Derby.
Well, do you know what? That could be another. I won't be surprised if they go and beat Brighton. Brighton at home as well are awful. They are awful at home, Brighton.
Well, you could say that, but I tell you what, I think you'd be brave saying that on Twitter these days. Recently, Brighton have I think they signed a South African player, Percy Tau, and I tell you what, after the Newport game, they are in their droves on football Twitter, mate. I'm telling you, they love Brighton.
Well,
I think everyone in South Africa is supporting Brighton now.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Well, I'll try and keep my mouth shut then, but I don't think Brighton are very good at home, to be honest with you. Just before we move on to the replays topic, just read a few of the other results side that stood out for me. Wycombe 4, Preston 1. I know they're in the same league, but still thought that were an impressive win. I
thought I bet Wycombe were wishing it was in the Championship,
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
But again, it's one of them things where Preston have been a bit rocky with the form recently, but Wycombe, I think if you actually have had time to watch Wycombe, they actually have played really well in the Championship this year, but they've just not put the chances away.
Yeah, they're not a bad side. Gareth Ainsworth's done brilliant, hasn't he, there?
And you got to love it for how many managers do you know that wear a leather jacket in the middle of January?
Not many.
So respect, passion.
Another bit of an upset, which brought a smile to my face. Blackburn 0, Doncaster 1.
Oh, I'll let the floor to you, my friend. I think you can have a good say in this.
Well, I mean, Doncaster completely deserved it.
Is that from a totally non-biased view?
Totally unbiased. It's not that I haven't seen any of the stats or anything. It's no.
Well,
from my Blackburn mates' perspective, what I saw on Twitter, they didn't play very well. That's all I can say.
Right. Okay.
Huddersfield 2, Plymouth 3.
Yeah, great result for Plymouth there. I think again, Plymouth are one of those sides that are doing really, really well at the minute, and they've got themselves a really good manager. And it's kind of the case of, again, Huddersfield, not the best, same as Preston, not the best in terms of form, so not a complete shock in my eyes.
No, they literally stole Bury's players and managers off them, didn't they?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. And then just before we move on again, Leicester 4-0 at Stoke. And did you see the Justin goal?
Oh, I tell you what, that's
nice, isn't it?
That for me alone, in terms of how good that was, that's probably the goal of the round for me.
I think it were, yeah. I haven't seen a better one. I mean, I can't admit I haven't seen every goal of that round, but that Justin goal, what a finish that is.
No, again, that was a professional performance from Leicester. Yeah. It just, for me, Leicester's one of them ones where they keep getting more and more momentum at the minute. And I don't want to be, the team that are playing them in the fourth round. Who are playing in the fourth round?
Well, that's when you asked me earlier about FA Cup final. I think Leicester could be in with a shout. Wouldn't be surprised if they go and win it.
That is a very good shout. Because I think they're playing Brentford, aren't they? Again, another good side that got to. They got to the quarter-finals against in the Carabao Cup, didn't they?
They did. Yeah.
It was even the semi-finals. Sorry. So I think it's a good test for Leicester, but I think they want to. I think if they go through from Brentford and they get to the quarters, I think they definitely have to be in the falls for the FA Cup final, or at least to win it, 100%.
It'd be brilliant for Leicester as well. Another trophy to that cabinet with a Premier League one, wouldn't it?
No, definitely. I think the way they've been playing, the way Brendan Rodgers has recruited, I think they've probably had the best recruitment over the last couple of seasons in terms of the players they've brought in. So I think winning an FA Cup would definitely top them off.
Yeah, definitely. So on the topic of obviously that we're every game we decided, which usually obviously if you draw you go to a replay.
Yeah.
What do you do? Do you know what? I actually quite like how it's done on the day. I'm not a big replay fan, but I suppose for them lower league clubs, usually it would be better, wouldn't it, in terms of finances, and I suppose as well it'd be breaking tradition, wouldn't it, which people don't like.
Yeah. I mean, since the FA Cup's the oldest cup competition in the world, I think there has to be a lot of traditions upheld, 100%. But then again, though, over the time, obviously the FA have changed some of the rules. Obviously, normally it would be the replay if it's a draw first time, but then once you get to the semi-finals, though, it's a straight knockout at Wembley. And if I'm correct, it used to be at neutral grounds. It used to be played and stuff like that. So,
I think I hate that it's played at Wembley, the semis.
You know what? It cheats it a little bit, doesn't it?
It just takes the gloss off the final, doesn't it? I hate it. Yeah, hate how it's.
Yeah, I think they should go. I think I agree with you that. I think it just kind of defeats the concept. Wembley should be treated as this special one-time thing, in the calendar where go to neutral grounds like Villa Park, Old Trafford. Go to those neutral grounds and play the semis, and then go to the final at Wembley. But going back to your question, though, in terms of single round matches, I think if you wanted this, I think especially the next few seasons, especially with the current climate in, and obviously the economy of clubs, I think we could implement something what the German cups are doing, or the DFB Pokal's doing at the minute, where every round, no matter what, if it's let's say for instance it was Marine Tottenham again, the lowest ranked side would get the home game for the revenue.
Yeah.
As it's seen, and it's been proven quite a bit that shocks happen to you over time. It's like there's been games where a fifth German league team have had Bayern Munich home and they've managed to pull a result off. It's happened before. So I think if we did implement something that was on the long lines of like a single round match, I think to make it benefit the non-league clubs, I think they should do something where they play the fixtures at home. Maybe even AFA could provide more, prize money for the lower end teams, or a bit more of a deficit, as we said before. If you win the third round, you get £60,000. If you lose, you get £20,000. Maybe you could even it out a bit more where it's 50-30.
Yeah,
because I think. And I think obviously with the campaign with Marine doing the virtual tickets, I think they could implement something like this. Almost like I know it's been not the most popular thing obviously in the Premier League, but maybe a virtual pay-per-view system. Maybe if let's say lower league clubs have sold out tickets, but then you could pay, I don't know, £5 or something like that for the pay-per-view, and it all goes to the club. I think that would put good standings.
I think that's the big problem that people have with pay-per-view is it weren't going to the clubs where it were going to. I mean, no. EFL clubs are still paying, aren't they? 10. I know Bunting, another friend of the podcast. He paid a tenner last night for Sunderland v Port Vale in the Papa John's Trophy. So
wait, for that singular game?
Yeah, tenner. So they're still having to pay that EFL clubs. Like, unless I think if you have a season ticket, you get it. But other than that, you're having to pay £10 to watch it on the EFL. I don't know exactly how it works. Maybe the clubs get some money, but I bet they don't get all of it.
No. I think the rights would go to obviously the EFL, but then I feel like if you implemented it and the majority of the proceeds went to the lower league, the lower club, I think that would be brilliant. I think if, you could flip it the other way around. Maybe if, let's say, for instance, Manchester United got drawn at home to like Cambridge United, like it happened a few seasons ago, maybe have it where the entire proceeds of that home fixture for Manchester United, it all goes to the non-league club. It just makes it just, to me, if you did it where it supported the lower league club or the lower end of the club of the fixture, then I think teams would make more effort. More effort to try and get to those later rounds. Because I've seen it before where, League One, League Two sides, like they play the FA Cup, but it's not the priority. They're either focus on the league status. But what's not to say now that the FA Cup can be used as a financial aider for the clubs these days?
Yeah, like definitely. It's a good idea that, because they obviously need it more, don't they, than. As you said, if Man United were playing Cambridge, they need it more than Man United.
Yeah. So, what do you think about it? What do you think about all these single round matches and stuff like
that? I think it's the right decision at the minute because of what we're in terms of COVID, and I suppose not having fans takes away the advantage of being at home a little bit. So, and I think we're obviously having to squeeze games in potentially. You've got to think as well, this could get worse, this virus. Well, it is getting worse. It might get to a point where we have to stop football. It's not looking likely at the minute, but you never know. So I think it was the right decision this year in terms of, getting it done, getting the FA Cup done. But I'd like to go back to the original system next season, hoping that next season will be a bit, life will be a bit more normal than it is now.
Yeah.
But I agree with you on that's a good idea.
I mean, at least...
tickets. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, replays, but then again, though, obviously, like we could say about that, but then replays were also financially viable for non-league clubs. They got 2 games. Like, I can remember, when FC United got Brighton in the FA Cup, and we managed to get a draw at their ground, and then we played the replay at Gig Lane, and it was on the telly, and we got way more money if it was just, playing the single game and going to penalties if it was at Brighton.
Yeah.
I just think, however it is done, it just has to benefit the lower league clubs after the aftermath of everything with COVID. I think, obviously it's great to see Marine doing so well financially, and the way they've marketed it's been really spot on. But then you've got to look at the other clubs that don't have any football now, don't have any income right now. Unfortunately, I don't think there'll be a lot of clubs. I think there'll be a lot of clubs being liquidated over the next couple of seasons, because there's only so much they have in the bank before to start borrowing or to start making cuts, and we don't want that, because at the end of the day, as we said before, it's it's volunteers and people of the club that make it, and it's people's livelihoods that are on the line.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%, and they're massive parts, aren't they, of the communities?
Definitely.
Just before we finish, then, Ryan, hopefully you'll come on for the next FA Cup podcast as well. All right, we'll do.
We'll see.
We'll see. What we'll quickly do is we'll do the we'll predict who's going to go through out the FA Cup fixtures, and then we can see next time who's done better. So we won't pick.
Liverpool, please.
We'll come to it and see what you think. So Barnsley v Norwich.
Right. That's a tough one, because Barnsley only played Norwich the other week. Barnsley played really, really well. They played really, really well against this season, especially against teams in the top six. They haven't managed to get results, teams in the top six, but that's a tough one. I think I'm going to say Norwich, but I think Barnsley are going to get a great game.
I'm going to go Norwich as well. I am. Bournemouth Crawley. I'm going to back Crawley. Come on, they can do it. They can get through again.
But that's the thing. That's the thing, though. Yet again, Bournemouth at home are really, really good, and Paul Teasdale has done really well with the transition after Eddie Howe. But then again, though, if they played as they did against Leeds, you could definitely see Crawley getting a result against them. Go on, Dom. I'll join you. I'll go for Crawley Town.
We're back in Crawley. Yeah, we've got to, haven't we? Brentford, Leicester. I'm going to go with Leicester. I've got to, after I bigged them up, saying go get to the final.
I think after what we've discussed in the podcast, I think I'll have to go for Leicester. Yeah.
Brighton v Blackpool. I'm going to risk getting abused on Twitter. I'm going to go for Blackpool.
Oh.
Brighton are not good at home, so yeah, that's.
I mean, it did take them a penalty shootout and an own goal against Newport, who, if any Newport fans listen, aren't doing so well at the minute. I think. Oh no, I'm going to go for Brighton for that one. I think they'll just edge. I think after the performance they had against City tonight, I thought they played really well. I just think Graham Potter just needs to bring a couple of signings in just to get them over the line, really.
Yeah, fair enough. Chelsea v Luton. Got a good Chelsea. I've got a good Chelsea, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that one, Chelsea. Definitely.
I don't think there's any upset there. Cheltenham v Man City. Again, I think it's Guardiola takes these competitions serious, doesn't he?
And Man City at Cheltenham again is another spectacle that I can't wait to really watch. Really, at the next round, definitely.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go for Manchester City for that one.
Yeah, we've got to go. Chorley v Wolves. I'd love to say Chorley, but I think it's the end. I think Wolves will win there.
I think obviously Wolverhampton's Wanderers have struggled obviously with Jimenez missing, but I think you have got enough quality to get them over the line, and unfortunately I'd probably say Wolves for that one.
Yeah. Everton Sheffield Wednesday. I'm gonna have to go with Everton. Sheffield Wednesday are in turmoil, aren't they?
they are in turmoil. Obviously, with the Pulis experiment failed after 10 games, and the managerless at the minute, but they've won the last 3, and they played really, really well against Exeter. Was it Exeter they were playing? Was it Exeter that they played?
Exeter 2-0,
yeah. And I think the way Everton don't have Dominic Calvert-Lewin, he's out for the foreseeable future, and I think James Rodriguez has still come back to fitness. You know what? I'm probably going to stick it safe and probably go for Everton.
I thought you were going to go for Sheff Wednesday for a minute there.
I feel like if I did say Sheff Wednesday, I think that would come back to bite me quite heavily.
Fulham Burnley. Well, I'm biased. I'm going to have to go with Burnley. I'm going to back my own team. I do think we'll win this, actually, though. Even, not being biased, I think we'll beat Fulham.
For simply the fact, if I'm allowed to come back on the podcast again, I think I'll.
Yeah, you wouldn't have been here. You wouldn't have been here next time if you said Fulham. Big one of the round. Everyone would say. I think Man United v Liverpool. This is for you, Ryan. Obviously, being a Man U fan. What are you thinking?
I've been told under strict instructions not to comment on this game by a good friend of the podcast, Ben Duran.
Ben won't want me to comment on it either, but I'm going to do because I'm sure Ben will listen to this one. I will be having a cheeky request to bet on it, Ben. Just telling you in advance because he gets really mad at me when I bet on United. It usually goes wrong, but yeah.
So, are you saying you're going to go for Liverpool just in case it jinxes it and United win? Is that your reasoning there?
I don't know. I'll probably end up going for I usually put Man United on because that really annoys Ben. Because when I put United on, you'd lose usually. But I think I do honestly think Man U's going to beat Liverpool.
Okay. I'm just, we've got, them in the league this Sunday. I just can't comment because I think this is the first time since Ferguson left that we've been in a good position, and I don't know. I don't want to be one of them ones where my opinion of Manchester United comes to burn me. So I'm staying.
You can tell me near it.
I'm going to say I want United to win, and that's all I'm saying. I want them. Yeah. I want them to win.
We'll put it down as Man United then. Millwall v Bristol City. I'm going to go for.
That's a tough one. I think that's a real tough one.
Millwall. I'm going to go.
I don't think Millwall have won at home this season.
Have they not?
No. Honestly, they haven't won a game. I don't think, at home. So I'm going to go for Bristol City on this one.
Well, I didn't know that, but I'll stick with Millwall because I've picked it now, and they've got to win at some point, haven't they? At home.
That's true.
Bristol City. What's that?
Bristol City do have a good squad, though.
They do. They're a good team, Bristol City. They've got a good squad, like you say. Sheffield United v Plymouth. I think this is tougher than probably think, but I do think Sheffield United will beat them, but not easily.
I agree with you. I think, but after the scare they had against Bristol Rovers, I think. But then again, though, you can say with the momentum that they've got from the last 2 games, I think Sheffield United will have enough just to edge it.
So yeah.
But that's only on depending what happens in the happens this weekend. But no, I'll go for Sheffield United.
Swansea Forest, another tough one. I'm going to go with Swansea.
I'm going to go for Swansea for this one as well.
Forest are very it's a miss.
Yeah, considering how good the squad is as well, I think again it's just not enough. Forest just don't have that consistency. But then again, those Swansea, apart from their home form is quite good. Did they get a result against Watford the other week? Yeah, they did. They won. I think they won 2-1, didn't they, against Watford? And I think
was that the game where they made
Jamal Rowe.
Big. Oh, he pointed at the camera, didn't he? Pointed at Ben Foster's
Yeah,
GoPro.
cool. And Jamal Lowe's started to hit some really, really good form. I think it's the best goal scoring record he's had to date, really. So I think if they keep that, I'm probably going to say Swansea for this one, especially at the Liberty Stadium.
Yeah, we'll leave next one out because Arsenal, obviously, I think they're going to be playing Southampton or Shrewsbury, so we'll leave that for now. West Ham v Doncaster. You know what? I'm going to go for the upset of the round here. I'm going to go Doncaster to win at West Ham.
Well, Doncaster knocked out FC United, and Elliot Simo's former FC United match has gone on loan to Doncaster Rovers.
Right.
We have to back him.
Remember him?
Yeah, he was. I think he's probably one of the best academy prospects we've had. Leave FC United. Definitely. I think I'm going to put it out and say Doncaster for the win.
Yeah, we're both backing Donny. Next one, sadly, I don't think they've been upset. I'm going to go for Spurs.
Yeah, as much as I love Wycombe Wanderers and the story they're telling this season, and I just think Tottenham. I think Mourinho knows that Spurs have to win some silverware, and I think he's going to be doing the exact same at Marine, put a real strong team on. I think he's going to get the result. So I'll go for Tottenham.
Yeah. Right. Well, we're going to leave it there then, Ryan. Cheers for coming on. Hopefully you enjoyed your debut.
Tell you what, I think I've given myself a 6 or 7 there. You know, I think it was quite respectable.
It was.
Really enjoyed it, though, mate. Thank you very much for having us. I hope I can come on again.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, hopefully you'll be up for coming on, like I say, for next FA Cup one as well. We can look back at them predictions, and hopefully I've got more right than you.
Let's hope so, mate. I tell you what, I'm not going to want to make predictions, so you know what?
Yeah,
we shall see. But no,
let's see.
Can't wait, mate. Loved it.
Nice one. Cheers, Ryan, and we'll have to thanks everyone for listening as well, or watch on YouTube. We'll put a few clips on YouTube as well. Cheers, everyone.